Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome to Ooyukiumi no Kaina. Kaina of the Great Snow Sea, something like that is the title if I'm not mistaken. Kaina, the main character, probably. Great Snow Sea, well, sea of snow, a lot of snow. That's essentially all I know about this show, besides the fact that it is CG. And you might be wondering, why did I decide to pick up a CG show? I usually express my distaste for CG in anime. Well, you see, the thing is, CG in anime I don't like, because it never really meshes well with the 2D elements, right? 2D drawn characters don't mesh well with 3D environments. Hand-drawn backgrounds don't mesh well with CG characters. 2D characters attacking CG monsters, that also doesn't work. 2D characters handling CG things, items, weapons, coins, etc. That also doesn't really work. But I did watch Doro, and I did very much like Doro, because it was unapologetically CG. They weren't trying to do some weird, cool combination of, oh yeah, CG can be a part of 2D shows, 2D movies. No, they just made a CG show, and it worked perfectly fine, honestly. And there's some dust on the lens, so forgive me for doing that. So that worked, right? And Kaina also seems to be a show that's done entirely in 3D. What's more, it also doesn't try to hide that fact particularly much. There's that certain subgenre, I guess, of CG art in anime that really tries super hard to be 2D, to look like 2D, to have all this line work and all those highlights and shadows, and it sticks to the rule of 3 colors, and so on and so forth. And that creates that sort of an uncanny valley effect, where it's almost 2D, and you could be fooled to see that it's 2D, but it's not. There's something missing, and it's hard to put your finger on it. This show, just like Doro, just like... I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen other CG shows. I heard the one about the crystal people, and I'm not talking about Steven Universe. That one is also good. I might check it out one day. But Doro doesn't try to pretend to be drawn. Sure, the stylization, the stylistic choices are very much kind of cartoony, sure, but it doesn't try to go completely out of its way to give us all those outlines and to make sure the shadows don't change as frequently, etc., etc. It embraces the medium. From what I've seen in the trailer for this show, it also embraces the medium in a similar way, a vibe that I didn't get from the Trigun trailer. I think Trigun, the remake, was also, yeah, that one was also CG, and that one I didn't like, because it was trying really hard to be 2D, and it can't be, so it didn't work for me. I've also seen some clips from the Nier anime, and oh boy, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. Because it seems just only the main characters, 2B, 9S, and maybe others are 2D, and everything else is CG, and oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to this show. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't seen my content, the way we always go about it after this bit of an intro early on, we're gonna watch this show with a timer, so you're gonna be able to sync up your own copy. I'm using the subs please version, so it's probably ripped from Crunchyroll or something. Then we're gonna go through this episode again. We're gonna go through it step by step, second by second, frame by frame, if need be, with some additional commentary and stuff. Then we're gonna take a look at the studio, the staff, the voice actors, all that jazz. And lastly, we're gonna cap it off with general impressions and opinion about the first episode. So, I guess without further ado, we should just start watching it. So, subs, aforementioned, you're gonna need them to follow along. Sound, I'm gonna need it to hear what's going on. And support, I'm gonna have to ask you guys for your support. Monetary, Patreon, Throne, links down below, or not. Share my content, spread the word, costs you nothing, it's completely free and helps the channel a lot regardless. And now, with all of that out of the way, we can start watching... what was the name of the show again? Ooyukiumi no Kaina. Ooyukiumi no Kaina. Episode 1 in 3, 2, 1, go. Polygon Pictures. I guess this is the Great Snow Sea. Snow far as the eye can see. Or ice, rather. Okay, bugs. So it's not like Earth during a next ice age. But rather however many millennia in the future, or a different world. Okay, a harpoon. Kinda spearfishing, kinda harpooning. Interesting. A big one. That's some great music. Oh, so it's an ice sheet above ground? What? I thought it's just some... not occlusions, whatever it's called. Something that's like frozen in the ice, some impurities, and that's what gives the pattern to the ice. But no, it's clouds underneath the ice. And pillars going ground to the sky. It reminds me of... what was that movie? There was an old, like early 2000s movie that had a tree that kind of like connected worlds. There was a planet at the bottom and a planet at the top and a tree growing between them with aliens. The tree was called AXZ. AXZ, I remember. Kaina? Not Kaina, Kaena? Something like that. I'm gonna find it. And a spot between the worlds that had no gravity. That reminds me of them just floating there. Some cool world building we're seeing. The world I'm already in. I'm already interested in the world alone. So is it ice or is it some weird thing that the tree sprouts? Okay, so that's Kaina, our protagonist. Is he wearing a rebreather because there's no air above? The thing on top. What's it called in English? Let me translate it real quick. Caviar. Are they the only people living here? Or is there like a bigger society? Membrane. That's the word I was missing. Is the membrane kind of like the ozone layer? And it's essentially keeping all the oxygen and the air on the planet. And those trees just create that membrane. Very scavenger aesthetic. Recording the position of stars. Well, bottom stars. Glowing bits. Ozone layer is let's lay off the freon or whatever it was. Okay. Interesting tidbit. Yeah, there's like 5 of you. Orbital spire tree. Is that what those trees are called? Because you're hunting all their fucking eggs. How are there supposed to be more of them if you're taking their eggs? Signkeeper. Okay, so move to the next one over. There seem to be plenty of those trees. Can't you, like, get above and walk to the next one? Okay, so it is post-apocalyptic. Those seem like actual, like, normal Earth signs. Sounds like collagen. Okay, using old... Gotcha. Using old signs to learn language. hand-holding. I mean, they're passing the right things, at least. Sure. I don't remember. Ah, yes. The classic archaeology. If you don't know what an object was, it was probably an object of worship. Yes. That's exactly what happens when you read a stop sign. Okay, so are there just 5 people left in the world? Well, 6. The Signkeeper is the 6th one. There's some great music and some amazing lore being there. There is being there. Great English. Hmm. I wonder if that's the case, then you're kind of fucked because there aren't really any women in birthing age. Yeah. Of course, he's the protagonist. Someone's gotta do it. Yeah, well, sooner or later you will. That's your role as the protagonist, Kun. Floating gallstones. And there are people on the Great Snow Sea. What do you know? Flying fish things? Something that looks like coral? Yeah, the snow doesn't look great, does it? Princess Liliha. Okay. Okay, so the layer of snow below keeps growing up, and the thing up top keeps crumbling. Interesting. I wonder, is she gonna grab onto the floater and she's gonna float up to their village or something, and that's how they're gonna meet? Okay, at least people on surface have a little bit more of a civilization. They have countries, princesses, rulers, families. Well, damn. And what is that? A snow ship. Okay. Okay. The snow still looks like shit, but I love the snow ship. The idea of a snow ship. Ramming speed. A catapult, okay. A buckshot catapult. And that's how the princess is gonna be the only survivor. Okay, is it like a very loose snow then, since they can drown in it? Is it even snow? That's a good question. Okay, they're gonna get Liliha floated up with the floater. Yeah, I thought she's gonna go up with the floater by accident. She's gonna hook into it and it's just gonna take her. But no, it's her way of escaping, essentially. Yeah, get in the fucking basket. That's some cool combat. How exactly? That's a good question. Did they wait on purpose to float her up next to a tree? Or is it just like a last ditch effort? She might float out of the planet and never to return, but at least her chances of surviving by randomly floating up are better than staying there, because staying there is surefire death. A city below the clouds. Or a village at least. I don't know if their civilization is developed enough to form cities, but villages, probably. There's some tessellation on that floater. A sage's forest, huh? Do people on the ground believe that there's some sages and magicians and whatnot living in the sky? Some record of people living up there has been kept and passed along in the ground civilization? Something had to have separated those two groups of people, right? That one group lives up top on the canopy and one group lives on the ground. And what's that? Glowing mushroom? Okay. Oh, here comes the floater. Well, good thing Kaina is here. Because if he wasn't here, then the princess would just go up, up, up to the moon. Like Dogecoin. Okay, some clapping music. You gotta love some clapping music. Well, shit. Okay, I guess that's for the better. And the floater goes off into the... what's above stratosphere? Zonosphere, magnetosphere? No, not quite. Magnetosphere is the magnetic field of Earth. Somewhere into the outer space. And that's the episode, it seems. Yuta Shimpo, Jamie Williams. This is a cool style. It's the same CG models and stuff, but they have that weird scratchy drawing filter on them. That's cool looking. I'm guessing the group on the left are people of the ground, and the group on the right is people of the canopy. Armored waifu. Wait, did I just see Bilibili and NetEase Games? Did NetEase have a hand in making this show? That's interesting. I wonder if there's a game in making or something. Interesting. Or maybe NetEase is just a conglomerate that dabbles in everything and anything. I guess we'll see if if a game is eventually released or not. But right now, let's watch this again, shall we? Yes, we shall. Polygon Pictures. The logo seems kind of like Aniplex, but I don't think they are a subsidiary of Aniplex. Right, here I thought this is just a layer of ice, it's a frozen lake or something, and the sky is just really clear. No clouds, no nothing, usually in the Arctic, in those like beyond the polar ring or whatever you call it, the sky is very clear because there is no precipitation, there is no water vaporizing, right? There's no vapor going into the sky to create clouds, so there usually aren't any. But as it turned, and those things in the ice, I thought those are just impurities, kind of like cloud quartz. Can I find an image of cloud quartz? Or there's also that lake that has like methane frozen in it. No, cloud quartz is wrong example. Ice methane. Ice methane. Pockets. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Let me window capture. Yeah, right? Something like that. Some impurities, some methane or something frozen in the lake. But as it turns out, it's not. It's genuinely clouds, and it's not a thick layer of ice, but rather it's some thin-ish solid membrane. Yeah, I was confused about what this hole is, but then again, I thought it might be just some cave in the ice, because why would I think otherwise, right? It's just ice, and those are obviously icicles. Something created that hole. Maybe there was some whirlpool in the lake, and it froze like that. And there is a big drop, and below that drop, there is. Yeah, below that drop, there's right more frozen, more ice, more I don't know, snow and rocks and stuff like that. No, I was mistaken, as it turns out. Also bugs. So initially I thought it's not Earth, or Earth far, far, far in the future. Those are like Fallout Cazadors. Turns out it probably is Earth in the far, far, far future. Spear fishing, kind of spear fishing, kind of harpoon, kind of hunting. Yeah, those just feels like sometimes you have that layer of ice in a bucket or something, and it freezes around, and you make a hole in it, and you pour the water from underneath the ice, and there's a layer of ice with a hole in it and water below, and you leave it outside, and the water below also freezes. And I thought that's what it is, essentially. There was water underneath the ice here, but the water is no longer there. The layer of water is now lower, and this is just the remainder. But again, turns out it's something much, much, much cooler. I love this world. I really do. It's great. Big bug. Interestingly, everything is animated on twos, except the bug. Not even in a... Oh. I kept showing you the pictures of ice. Yeah, here. I thought there was water, but the water drained, and it's just a layer of ice that was left. I also commented on the spearfishing, and so on. Big bug. And yeah, here, this is animated on threes. Then a bit later on, or earlier on, at moments it's animated on ones, but the bugs are for some reason sometimes animated on threes, sometimes on twos, but the bugs for some reason... Oh, this is on mixed twos and ones. Twos and threes, sorry. But the bug is animated strictly on ones. That's usually an issue with joining CG and 2D. 2D anime is animated on twos, and CG is very often animated on ones. Because you don't need to draw those frames, you don't need to draw any in-betweens or anything, so you can afford to just render every single frame. With drawn art, with drawn animation, you usually animate it on twos or on threes. Because if you don't need a frame, you just don't add it because it takes so much time to create that in-between. It's interesting that this show, despite being entirely CG, there is still that distinction that some things are animated on twos and some things are animated on ones. And as is usually the case with anime that mixes 2D and CG, characters and everything that matters for the most part is animated on twos, and monsters or weapons or elements of the background are animated on ones. And here it's the same. I wonder why. Is it just negligence? It would seem to me because they are animating the characters on twos or threes for a reason. So far, let me see some more of the character animation. Yeah, that's animated on threes. It could have been animated on ones, but they made the conscious decision to not do so. To evoke more of that 2D, hand-drawn feeling, right? That animating on ones does not evoke. And yet the monsters are animated on ones. I wonder why. I wonder why that is. Opening Kaina of the Great Snow Sea. Here we have the princess, the trees, Kaina reading signs and billboards, the floater, the membrane, Kaina tracking lights. This is, I think, the sign keeper because there are signs around him and he looks like a sage. Fight between the people of the princess and the armored beetle-looking people. A village on the surface. An armored waifu. In gothic plate. I actually love the design of her armor and her shield. And the design of the others' armors ain't half bad either. It's actually fairly realistic. The armor, at least, not so much the helmets. It's essentially not lamel, something like that. Kind of like whatchamacallit, scale plate kind of thing, except the scales do not overlap. It's very much a gothic themed armor and faction, it seems. They have a big bad walled city with some icebreakers. I guess that's the duality of those factions, right? The bad people are all industrial. They have ships. They have big walled cities. They're glowing. Ominous glow. And here are the good people. They're dressed in white. They live in fun-looking villages. They don't use ships. They use seal things that carry sleds and stuff, right? Very easy to see who's supposed to be the villain here. I wonder if the gothic people are actually gonna be the villains, though. I wonder. Villains usually don't have a waifu at the helm. Usually it's a guy, an evil-looking guy, preferably fat, with like rolls on the neck and some, and a mustache that he can twirl. Their faction is probably just misunderstood, or they're also fighting for survival, or something like that. Or the princess of their faction, maybe, probably, possibly not, is the good one, and she decides to defect and join our heroes. She very much looks like the kind of a character that will turn, that will be a turncoat eventually in favor of our main characters. But it's just my, my prediction. Actually, I've got this thing for a reason, don't I? Let's see. Kaina. That's gonna be the page for Kaina. Move it. Kaina. Gothic plate. Chan joins our heroes. First prediction for Kaina. We'll see how it goes when the series ends. Floating through the sky, it very much reminds me of that movie that I now found, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about it later. The fight scene, although this one is done with swords, so it's not the... Oh, that's Gothic Plate Chan on the right, and some knight on the left. So it's not the scene where the princess was the only survivor. And it seems like some of the backgrounds are hand-drawn. So my entire rant at the beginning of this episode, of this video, that it seems to embrace the medium completely and unapologetically, you can kind of throw it into the garbage because they are very much connecting to the NCG, but it works so far. I don't mind what they're doing. It's just the movement and the lack of distinct, thick black outlines that kind of betrays it as being CG. If this was just a still frame, you could be fooled into thinking it's entirely drawn. Although there is a bit of the whatchamacallit, the uncanny valley effect on her hair, a little bit on her eyes, the shading of her hair on the side of her head doesn't look quite 2D-ish either. And I'm guessing this floating, glowing mushroom is going to be the guide or something. The boy from the canopy. And yeah, it's confirmed. It's a canopy. It's not the layer of ice. It's a weird-ass tree. A bunch of weird-ass trees that grow out this weird-ass membrane that does something. It separates the atmosphere from the space, it would seem. I love it. I love this idea. I always loved like planet-wide and planet-scale or cross-planet things in fantasy media. All sorts of spire that goes through the atmosphere, all sorts of, like in that movie I mentioned, a tree that connects two planets together, or some other like planetary engineering things, planet cut in half, planet exploded, and it's just a bunch of floating islands somehow held together by gravity or something, like from that French cartoon, I think it was French, maybe Canadian, Dragon Hunters. The world was essentially a bunch of floating islands. I'm a sucker for those things, and I'm a sucker for this one as well. Actually, I've been meaning to write. I kind of created myself a world, bits and pieces of a world, but once you create a world, you still have to write stories in it, and that's the hardest part, isn't it? But yeah, a world where there are also spires that reach way up past the stratosphere, way into the outer space. They're anchored on the ground as well. Maybe I'm gonna have enough time and enough motivation and enough inspiration one day to actually write something in that world. Probably not, though. Not for the foreseeable future. Great design to the tree. And it seems like it's like a stakeout tower, lookout tower, just on one of the branches. Interesting. Yeah, it seems like below the membrane you can just not use a rebreather, but above the membrane you do have to. Just double checking, but this old guy is also animated on 3s. This is, I'm assuming, the entrance past the, past the canopy, past the membrane. I don't like how those eggs look, just as a side note. They're using some glowing spheres to light the place. And they have rooms inside of the trunk, it would seem. Bunch of old people and Kaina. They have their rooms, very modest, everything made of tree, of bark, of perhaps bug leather, perhaps pieces of the canopy as well could be used to make clothes, for example. A very, very, very scavenger kind of aesthetic. Patchwork everywhere, made of scraps of fabric, scraps of leather. Cool. I like it. I like the aesthetic. A drum. And here we see the scale of just how many of those trees are there. And there are plenty. There are enough of them to the point where it's surprising that it seems every single village in reach has died out. Why? Is it something on the scale of a planet that's going on? Some change on a planetary scale that perhaps makes those trees die and shrivel and wither, and hence the holes. The canopy, the membrane, isn't getting nutrients from the tree, so it can't regenerate itself. It just dries out and is easily disturbed and destroyed. That's also why they have no water. If the tree doesn't carry sap, you can't drink that sap. For that to happen to a single tree, that's understandable. For that to happen to all the trees in the world, less so. Unless it's actually something on planetary scale going on. Could have something to do with the layer of snow getting thicker and thicker. Maybe. Maybe. Interesting. I wonder what ultimately the solution is going to be. Because we can see right now already that this is essentially a death world. By all means, it's a death world. You can't exactly survive on the canopy, you just have some bugs to eat, and you risk running out of water, and people are dying, and entire villages are dying out because something's going on, and you can't exactly survive that well on the surface either, because you just have some floaters to eat, maybe, and you just have snow. It shows you the adaptability of humankind for sure, but I wonder if they're gonna be looking for a solution, as in going back to status quo, healing the trees, perhaps growing new ones that will restore the canopy, and people of the canopy can live and create the villages that were destroyed. They can breed and spread and rebuild that canopy civilization. And the people on ground will go back to the snow, maybe not being that much. And they will also be able to spread their civilization down there. Or are we going to be looking for a more permanent solution, as in getting rid of the snow, perhaps getting rid of the trees, of the need for those trees, because for as we know, they keep the oxygen on this planet, and air and everything else. So getting rid of them probably not feasible. But maybe bringing an atmosphere, a good and proper atmosphere back to the planet is something more feasible. I wonder what's the deal with the trees here. One thing that comes to mind, although no, that cannot be the case. But yeah, one thing that came to mind is that Earth somehow lost the atmosphere, possibly because of the magnetosphere disappearing, the Earth's core being stopped and cooled down, and hence Earth no longer has a magnetosphere, hence solar radiation, solar wind just wipes away our atmosphere, and those trees were somehow created to stop that from happening, an artificial ozone layer, essentially, a terraforming attempt. I'm gonna note it down. Trees are a terraforming attempt, and in parentheses, keeping atmosphere. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's an artificial ozone layer and artificial magnetosphere. Shields the Earth and keeps the atmosphere. Why did the life on the ground go to shit, though? Why is there snow everywhere? That doesn't look like a bug. That looks like a chicken. But sure, and plenty of eggs. I see the eggs now. Apparently they have some sort... Is it a vegetable, or are those just legs of that bug? Probably just legs. Leg segments. Spire tree bug. Okay. A bunch of old people. And Kaina. They repair holes. That's why we're not supposed to hunt too many of them. And you probably shouldn't be hunting the ones who are carrying eggs. It's not like we have enough people here for overhunting to be a problem. Well, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... around like 50, 60 eggs seems to be on the back of this one. So by hunting this one, you didn't get rid of one bug, you got rid of 60 of them. So overhunting by proxy could actually be an issue. Growing number of holes, drop in water output, orbital spire tree. Interesting that it's actually named an orbital spire tree. And not like Ungluth tree or something, some proper noun, right? It's orbital spire tree. Do those people, at their level of advancement, even know what the fuck an orbit is? Probably not. So it has to be a name that persisted from years ago, when those trees were made purposefully to reach up above. Into the orbit? Not really. Unless we're talking about Moon's orbit. We haven't seen the Moon, have we? Did Moon fall down or something? I'm looking possibly too deep into it, but people from ages past must have named those trees, which makes me believe they are a conscious attempt at doing something. What? We don't know. Holes are bigger, number of bugs seems to be decreasing. Well, you're eating their eggs. What do you expect? And bring this one to the sign keeper. Hello on water. This orbital spire tree is dying. Are all of them dying, one by one? I wonder if that's the case. Also, I love that the tree has holes in them, and the holes have pieces of membrane as windows. I wonder if it's something they created. They just carved holes in the tree and cut out pieces of the membrane and put them there. Or did the tree just grow membrane inside of the holes? Either eventuality is great. Once we die, he'll be the only one left. Only one ever on the entire planet, or only one in this village, quote unquote? What's this? Weird looking stakes? Are they carved or did they grow this way? Kind of look carved. Oh, is it? It's like a graveyard or something. Could be that they bring their dead above the canopy and the tree eventually grows over them or something, and they just leave a decorative stake. Probably a graveyard. Sign keeper. He has signs. I wish I could read moon runes because I would probably be able to glean some more details from those signs. But it seems like those are just generic warning roadwork, warning bypass, road closed kinds of signs. Caddisfly eggs are rich in collagen, probably collagen, which is an actual thing. Beware of falling objects. Yeah, that very much is a construction sign. Hand-holding authentication ceremony sends shredded price. I can see chap in Latin letters. Exchange, handshake. Let me take a look at it. I'm gonna grab a screenshot, annotate it, and magnify it. Challenge, handshake, pattern, something. There is a line in English. Chap, challenge, handshake. Is this an abbreviation? Something? I have no clue. Probably doesn't matter all that much, but I would rather be able to read it. Alas. Yeah, we don't get a clearer image of it. Do we? No, we don't. This is the correct way to read them, passed down from our ancestors. What's the point of just reading them? Of course. Some sort of a ritual, for sure. Some sort of an object of worship, for sure. It's always the case. There's many of stories of archaeologists. There's a story of, I don't know how real it is, but I think it's real. I don't know. Archaeologists found some random doodad somewhere, and they were wondering what it is. What is it? What's that thing? And of course, the first assumption, probably an object of worship. If we don't know what it is, it's an object of worship. Then they asked a local woman who's been living in that village for however many years, does she perhaps know what it is? and she showed them a similar thing that she has, and she uses it for knitting or something. And it's a knitting helper, of course, right? So it's no wonder that this guy believes those signs and the words inscribed on them were some magic phrases or prayers or something like that, or incantations. It's an assumption that even people in modern days, even archaeologists nowadays do. So it's no wonder that he would also make that assumption. I love the world building of this show, of this world, the world building and the lore. Back when there were other villages, we used to have those people called billboard readers. They would travel village to village collecting billboards and studying how to read them. I wonder how did those billboards make their way up? Did the tree growing just grab whatever signs there were and just carried them up? Like sometimes you see trees that overgrow like fences, and there are fences inside of the trees, or even signs, and they just grow and rip the sign out and just grow with them. Probably, possibly. As the spire trees began to dry up, the other villages started to crumble. So the spire trees drying up is not a new thing. Other villages started to crumble. I wonder, why did people not move? Seemingly just crumbled with their villages. That's when we found a man collapsed outside. And that was a sign bearer. A billboard bearer, sorry. He's been wandering alone because his village has perished. What of other people of that village, though? There's no one else on the canopy. I wonder about that. What about the snow scene? Mass of light traveling slowly. I wonder... I thought it might be a city, but it's traveling slowly. A mobile city? Perhaps? Or perhaps the movement of snow just carries the city with it. That could be the case. If there is so much snow and the layer of snow is getting thicker and thicker, unlikely that you can make foundation in the actual surface of the planet. You're probably building on top of the snow. So if the snow moves, and it can move, the city moves with it. I'm gonna note it down just in case. Mobile cities. That's a U, not a C. That's more like a C. No one knows what kind of creatures dwell in the snow sea. Maybe they're not creatures, but people. Little did you know. Don't worry about it, I was just curious. Yeah, he's not setting off on an adventure. I really thought that that's where it's going. He's gonna set off on an adventure, but no, the adventure found him. And that's what the canopy looks like, and down below there's a layer of clouds and a lonely floater. And people, indeed. And the roots of the tree, seemingly, maybe, perhaps. Is it below the surface of the snow, or is it above? We don't see anything like that in here, so could be below. We know that you can sink in that snow, so it's fairly loose. I'm assuming creatures like those, very aerodynamic, would be able to move in loosely packed snow. I wonder. Some barnacles. And weird penguin seal creatures. Probably something that could have evolved to, like, just move on snow in a world that's just snow. I really don't like the particles of the snow. If you can call them particles, they're just CG spheres. It's fine for, like, the layer they're moving in, right? The snow is just clumping up, and that's what they're leaving behind. But those balls of snow flying off into the air... No. Unless it's not snow, it's just really big pollen or something. I guess that would be an explanation. But I don't think that's the case. They really should have used some more smaller particles. Like, keep the big particles around the seal creature, but create like a dust, more like a dust effect further in the back. And above to cover those clumps a little bit as well. It's a sign of how the snow sea has risen. So, the orbital trees are drying up, the snow sea is rising, the world is ending, essentially. Did they bring the basket with them on purpose? I thought they, on purpose as in they wanted to send the princess off, or they wanted to fly off somewhere to find the sages of the canopy or something like that. Initially I thought that they're just hunting, just like Kaina. They're just hunting the floater, and they brought the platform with them to have somewhere to put the floater and carry it back to their village. But apparently the basket was there with the purpose of sending the princess with it. Those are some cool looking creatures. If we don't do it now, we won't get another chance. This is the only way to reach the land where the sage resides. So the sage is... They probably think Sage lives in the canopy. Yeah, that's the princess who says it. We must take our chances with Princess Liliha's plan if we are to save Atland. And they are also using some sort of scale mail, it seems. Snow is starting to fall. And with snow come Valgians. A Valgian ship. They have cool armor, but they are generally just plain evil. There's some purple thing. I wonder if they're eating like barnacle juice, because the barnacles are the only purple thing we've seen. They're using some bones. Bone trumpet, bone mace. Where do the bones come from is a good question. So far we haven't really seen any vertebrae. Just floaters. I guess the seals are vertebrae, but they don't really grow to those sizes. Some bugs, some floaters. No, like big teethed creatures. And they are using wooden and iron weapons or metal. Backshot catapult. That's actually a great idea. Not gonna lie. And this tells me that the snow, they're kind of drowning. They kind of... It doesn't behave like snow. They're floating in it. Yeah, they're floating in it. And diving in it. And the big-ass particles... Is it not shitty CG, but is it actually particles of snow this size? I wonder. Hard to tell. And yeah, their plan was to send the Liliha with the floater, and they are apparently using bone bows, which is interesting. Bone isn't all that elastic. They have some weird bluish purple swords. Bluish purple metal. I think the sword that just passed through him is drawn and not CG. No, it is CG, but it just has a like drawn, sketched texture on it. And they have bone weapons, as already mentioned. And Princess Liliha is sent off, hoping for the best, I guess, because they can't really know what is in the canopy. He's also using something made of purple metal, I think. Yes, a knife made of purple metal. Or maybe a shell or a bone. Or carapace of one of the bugs, I wonder. The Sage's Forest. Interesting. Interesting how the knowledge of people living on the canopy has remained in the civilization of people of the surface. Skewed because they have some vision of sages living up there and not people like their own, but there is something in their mythology. But people of the canopy don't know, don't even think about, don't even suspect anybody living in a snow sea. Another interesting aspect is, how did these two get separated? How come part of humanity is living on a canopy and part of humanity is living on the surface? Are people in the canopy descendants of, I don't know, keepers of the canopy, maintainers, researchers maybe, and people of the ground are descendants of just regular folk living on the ground who canopy is supposed to protect or something? Possibly. Those are some pretty vistas, you gotta say. The clouds below the membrane. Yeah, some really, really pretty shots in this show. This weird-ass glowing mushroom. I'm assuming it's gonna be sort of a guide or something. Some higher power guiding them to some degree. Because it appeared, and lo and behold, the princess is also appearing. And good thing Kaina is here, because if he wasn't here, she'd just fly off into space. Or as far, as high as the floater can actually float. Anchor it down, and thankfully he was able to grab her, or make her fall out at least. She's still asleep, which is not a great sign. That even falling out of the basket didn't wake her up. Although she doesn't have the rebreather. Could she be whatchamacallit? Suffocating. And that's why she's unconscious. Maybe. Edie. Okay. So that's that. And now, ice methane pockets. I think we can safely close that. Let's go back to this window capture. There we go. And let's take a look at a couple of things. At this show, for sure, but also the movie I mentioned, Kaena was the title. Kaena the Prophecy. Or from French, Kaena la Prophétie, or however you pronounce it. 2003 movie, fully in CG, made, distributed by Destination Films, produced by Marc Duprovantis, or again, however you pronounce it, I don't know French, produced by Zilam and Destination Films. And the main character is kind of fucking ugly. But the show itself, the movie itself, is kind of great. It started as a video game in '95, but then they apparently scrapped the game and turn it into a movie. It was a box office bomb, earned highly negative reviews. It was lifeless and dull with overly convoluted plot. The plot was overly convoluted. Absolutely, I agree. And flattening comparisons to the triplets of Belleville, that was also CG. No, it was animated, and Final Fantasy, that was CG, but of better quality. Yeah, 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not the greatest reviews, but if you like an interesting world, this movie can offer you an interesting world and some interesting lore. It should have had a little bit more time to deal with those, but regardless, I like it for the world and for the lore. If you don't mind the visuals, if you don't mind the story being convoluted, if you don't mind all those shortcomings, give it a watch one day. It's not that long, 85 minutes, not even an hour and a half. French made, and oh yeah, that bombed hard. Budget 26 million, box office 465,000. Oof, that's a big oof. So yeah, that's Kaena. Now, let's talk about Ooyukiumi no Kaina. It's getting better reviews, at least, than Kaena, from what I see. Mostly in the 70s, 80s. Good. More than the 7% that Kaena got on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, regardless. 11 episodes, 23 minutes each. Interesting that it's not 12, but I can see the movie. I'm guessing the movie is gonna be episode 12, essentially. It's based on a manga that's still releasing. That's cool. Because if I run out of this anime, I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna read the manga. Winter 2023. Studios Polygon Pictures. Plenty of producers: Fuji TV, Crunchyroll, Sony Pictures, Dent, Bilibili, NetEase Games, BS Fuji. Drama, fantasy, apparently. Synonyms: Kaina Dari Laut Salju Besar. Full CG, environmental survival, lost civilization, male protagonist, dystopian, post-apocalyptics. Very much fits. We don't know much about the dystopia, but possibly. Polygon Pictures, what did they make? Estab Life movie. Earlier on, also Estab Life, AQ Shonen Eternal Boys. Oh, I remember, I think, watching the trailer to it, and the CG looked absolutely atrocious. Sidonia no Kishi, Kutei Dragons, also full CG, I think. No, I don't think so. Show by Rock, Livius, Human Lost Music, Pingu in the City, hey, Gojira, more Pingu, Ajin, more Ajin, Sidonia no Kishi, some experimental looking movie, Samuroid Zero, not the greatest reviews of their things, Crocodile Traction AAA, The Fly Band, and the earliest thing they made is In Search of AXZ. In Search of AXZ. Oh, so it's just a bunch of CG animations. Okay, I mean, I guess it's cool that their adventure with CG dates back all the way to 1983 and 1989. Good to know. And they haven't really made anything beyond that or earlier than that. And they're also making some Blame movie in the future. Let me take a look at the staff. Original creator, director. Original creator, I'm assuming the mangaka, Tsutomu Nihei. Tsutomu Nihei Anime staff roles. No, original creator of the anime, I think. Blame Sidonia no Kishi. Blame. Oh, yeah, and also original creator of the manga, because Blame and Sidonia no Kishi are all based on manga as well. And some older series. Noise, More Blame, Jiraishin, Biomega. Cool style I see to his works. Very grungy, very grotesque, very whatchamacallit, very gothic, very biopunk in this case. Reminds me a lot of Sabiku Ibisco. Reminds me a lot of Desert Punk as well. I'm gonna have to read some of that manga. Ningyo no Kuni definitely looks cool. Set on a frozen planet littered with alien artifacts, Ningyo no Kuni weaves a tale of a young man and small but fateful encounter. And is it also a show? No, just a manga. I might read it today, we'll see. Director Hiroaki Ando. Hiroaki Ando, who also worked on Jujutsu Kaisen, storyboarder for a single episode, director of Listeners, director of Ajin, of course, CG director on Steam Boy, and not much besides that. Not a huge portfolio. Next we have, who do I want to check? Art director, Kimiko Kubo. Kimiko Kubo also worked in background art on Sora no Aosa wo Shiru Hitoyo, whatever that is. I don't recall it. Background art in Lupin the Third. And background art in Devilman Lady. And not much more than that. Again. Who else do I want to see? CG supervisor, maybe? Takuma Ishibashi and Masaki Taga, CG supervisors. Takuma Ishibashi worked as CG supervisor and CG director for Human Lost, supervisor for Sidonia no Kishi, and Masaki Taga, CG assistants on Pokemon and CG photography on Skycrawlers, whatever that series is. Next we have sound director. Sound direction was good. I want to see that for sure. Masanori Tsuchiya also worked on Shirosei Jotokuro Bokushi. Seems interesting. Chikawa, Primadol, Fate, sound director, Slow Loop, sound director, Isekai Shokudo, sound director, Slime Mito, sound director, Azure Lane, Sawayaki Kitsune-san, New Game to Mitsuboshi Colors, Fate Kaleid, Liner Prisma Ilia, Fate Zero, Starship Operators, Shakugan no Sana, recording adjustment, and Noir recording. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it for later. Music. Kota Yamamoto and Misaki Umase. I really did enjoy the music tracks in this show. I usually don't really pay much attention to music, but this I very much enjoyed. Kota Yamamoto also made music for Shingeki no Kyojin, Dark Gathering, Mato Seihei no Slave, Kingdom 86, Nanatsu no Taizai, more Shingeki no Kyojin, more Kingdom, Senran Kagura, Dive, Nanatsu no Taizai, Ao no Exorcist. And Misaki Umase worked on Precure, Delicious Party Precure, and Tropical Rook Precure. Theme song arrangement, theme song relay. Okay. That's not a huge portfolio, but packed. Script, Sadayuki Murai and Tetsuya Yamada. Sadayuki Murai also wrote scripts for Sabiku Ibisco, I'm gonna like this show then, because I did... Well, okay, I did not like the entirety of Sabiku Ibisco. There were some really weak moments in that show, but there were also some really strong moments. So it's gonna be a roller coaster if it's anything like Sabiku Ibisco. Sidonia no Kishi, Gojira, Beatless. What else? More Sidonia no Kishi. Anything else I recognize? Steam Boy, of course, Astro Boy. I think I saw Pokemon. No. Mahot Sky, Tai, and some older shows. Devilman Lady again, and we see Cowboy Bebop script for episode 4, 20, and 21. If that's not an entry to your portfolio to be proud of, I don't know what is. And Tetsuya Yamada, also a script writer, also for Shumatsu no Harem and Sidonia no Kishi again. And sure, why not? Episode director Taku Yonebashi and storyboarder. Taku Yonebashi also was unit director on Gyakusatsuki-kan, Mahojin Guru, couple episodes of Ajin, second season, Robotics Notes, and Guilty Crown. Been a while since I've seen Guilty Crown mentioned anywhere. And so far, episode director for the first episode of Ooyukiumi no Kaina. Second episode is already out, but nobody is listed as episode director or storyboarder for episode 2. Maybe they changed, maybe they didn't, I don't know. And Hiroaki Ando. Oh, it's the director and also storyboarder. Okay, so we already checked him out. That was the staff. Now let's take a look at the voice actors. Kaina is voiced by Yoshimasa Hosoya. Yoshimasa Hosoya won some awards, 8th and 10th Seiyu Awards. Voiced someone in Hikari no O. Voiced Kaina, of course. Someone in Bungyo Stray Dogs. Who else? Anybody that I would recognize, perhaps. That would be nice. Tokoyami from Boku no Hero Academia. Reiner from Shingeki no Kyojin. Haven't seen either show, to be honest with you. Someone in Nomad. I don't recognize those characters. Oh, Kojo Akatsuki in Strike the Blood 4. Shin in Doro Doro. Okay. I can see that, yeah. The voice of Shin. Sure. Sure, that actually fits. Okay. Anybody else that I recognize? Someone in Kakegurui. Kojo in Strike the Blood, the third season. Plenty of roles. Plenty of roles. Anybody else? Please give me something. Voiced someone in Ajin, so he's familiar with the studio he's working for, it would seem. Show by Rock, 100, 2015. That's a lot of roles in 2015. 2014. And I don't recognize anybody. 2013. Shingeki no Kyojin, we still constantly see Rainer Braun. 2011. Played a role in Yu-Gi-Oh! Played 4th in Yu-Gi-Oh! 2007, 2006. Okay, that's as far as it goes. Also played someone in Naruto Shippuden. 2 characters even. Okay, but the voice of Shin. Okay, I'm gonna remember that. Ririha, played by Rie Takahashi. Rie Takahashi, of course, the voice of Megumin. I'm gonna be honest, I don't hear it, but entirely possible. Voice of Tomo in Tomo-chan Onna no Ko. Voice of... who else? Takagi in Takagi-san. Ena in Yuru Camp. Emiria in Isekai Quartet. And of course in the original show she's in. ReZero, I think, is the title. Who else? Nini Rayleigh from Tensai Oji. Mash from Fate. Who else? That's a lot of roles as Emilia. And Megumin. And Mash. And Emilia and Megumin. Those are the roles every year she plays, it would seem. Anybody else I recognize? Not really, I'm afraid. Okay, all the way to 2013. Plenty prominent characters, plenty prominent voice actors, rather. I wanna check out Amerote. Cool to see that her name is Amerote. I wonder who's she gonna be voiced by. Maya Sakamoto. Also the voice of Francois in Dr. Stone. Tarura! The voice of Tarura in Arknights. Okay. You had my curiosity, now you have my attention. The voice of Tarura. Hell yeah. Jeanne d'Arc from Fate. Da Vinci from Fate. Who else? Echidna from Fate. Not Fate, sorry. ReZero. Shinra from Enen no Shobutai. Tamayo from Kimetsu no Yaiba. And anybody else? Lisa, Made in Abyss. Shinobu from Monogatari. Aegis from Persona. More Fate roles. But the voice of Tarura. Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing her speak up, for sure. Mari from Evangelion. What's that face? Oh, that's just Soul Eater art style. Sorry, I forgot the art style of Soul Eater. Krona from Soul Eater. And the roles are going, dating way back to 2003, 2002 even, 2001, and even earlier. 1995, Motoko Kusanagi in Ghost in the Shell. That's probably her most prominent role. And now playing Tadera and now playing Amerote. That's a nice cast of voice actors. I'm gonna check out Atland as well while we're at it. Probably someone prominent as well. Kenyu Horiuchi. Horiuchi. Berserker from Fate. Dr. Oak from Pokemon. Popko, but who hasn't voiced Popko? Taiyang Xiaolong from Ruby. Who else? Narrator from Pokemon. N. Oh, the voice of N from Dorodoro. I wonder if he's gonna do the voice of N or is he gonna do the voice of Dr. Oak. Either's gonna be fine by me. Germain Louis from Garo. And Barazo from Kill la Kill. Color Me Surprised. Pain in Naruto. I would never put Barazo, Dr. Oak, and N in the same basket, but here goes what I know, right? Mephisto, Pink, King guy from Precure. Guin from Guin Saga. Mostly Pain in Naruto. 2004. And even earlier. Those are shows that I haven't had the chance to watch, so I'm not gonna recognize any of those characters, I don't think. 1990s, 1989, 88, 87, 86, 83, 1983, the earliest roles as Hajime Taki from Captain Tsubasa and So Tachiki in Attacker U. And also Sunstreaker in Transformers. Plenty prominent roles, just as I thought. I'm gonna quickly check the others as well. Handa Gil, played by Nobuyuki Hiyama. Checking the timer, an hour and a half. Not bad. Eclair! Eclair. Okay. Also Popko, but who hasn't played Popko? Also... Seichi from Shirobako. Also Guerrilla from Promare. I need to see Promare, haven't seen it. But I heard a lot of good about it. So I probably should one day. Black Hole from Space Patrol Lurko. Yoshiteru Zaimakuza from Yahari Ore no Seishun Rav. Sanagayama from Kirakir. That's a role I recognize. But then again, Sanagayama and Yoshiteru, put them in the same spot, right? Kinda hard to see them as the same voice actor. Viral in Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. And some older roles that I'm not exactly privy to. I don't exactly recognize. Oh, Putan from Cromarty. Cromarty was a ride. A wild ride that you can't help but not want to get off of. Highly recommend everybody watch Cromarty. It's amazing and it's stupid and it's crazy and it's mad and it's great. Madness incarnate. 1994, 91, 88, earliest role. Another long-term voice actor. And Gapoji, voiced by Tomokazu Sugita, who also voiced Jack the Ripper in Shimatsu no Valkyrie. Haven't seen Shimatsu no Valkyrie. Priest in Goblin Slayer. Okay. Someone in One Piece. Rudeus in Mushoku Tensei. If that's not a prominent role, I don't know what is. Gintoki, of course. Escanor from Nanatsu no Taizai. Someone in Kagegurui. Pipimi, but who hasn't voiced Pipimi. And other roles as well. Too many of them to go through, so I'm just mindlessly scrolling, seeing if I catch someone I would recognize, but hasn't been the case so far. Probably missed someone though. 2012. Okay, how far back do we get? Load faster. Fucking hate endless scrolling. Just load everything at once and let me... Or load things preemptively. Not when I reach the end of the page, but load it before I reach the end of the page. More eagerly. I have a fucking terabyte connection. Terabit. I shouldn't be waiting on things to load. Just load it all, I can handle it. Theme song performance in Chobits. Roles dating back to 96. Plenty of prominent, long-time voice actors hired for this project. Olinoga, Katsuyuki Konishi. Katsuyuki Konishi also voiced Marbas in this weird show that I thought I might watch this season, but we'll see. This fucker in Pokemon, Krogunk, I think is the name in English. Blood from Psyhead and the Paladin. Okay, the voice of Blood. Interesting. Kimetsu no Yaiba roles. More Kimetsu no Yaiba, Fairy Tail. Dragonite in Pokemon. Tom Tanaka in Durarara. Takehito in Kangoku Gakuen in prison school. Okay, we're up for a treat, aren't we? Tsumuge from Kirakir. Gengar. Plenty of Pokemon roles. Other voice actors as well. Professor Oak, right? That seems to be a star cast. Kamina in Tengen Tonpa Gurren Lagann. Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. I don't know why I keep saying Tonpa. Toppa. Tengen Toppa. The voice of Kamina himself. Also, Heracross, Mewtwo, whatever, Cacturn, Delibird. Okay, those are older shows. Mostly, that's a lot of roles in Pokemon. I guess you don't need, like, voice actor per Pokemon if all they have to say is Bulba Bulba and stuff. Theme song performance in Kangoku Gakuen, of course. And lastly, Yaona, voiced by Ayumu Murase. Ayumu Murase, who voiced Tristan in... oh, no, I thought it's a different anime. Who else did he voice? Let's see. Ginro in Dr. Stone, Kage in Osama Ranking, Luck in Black Clover, Iruma in Marimashita Iruma-kun, Aki in Chainsaw Man. Again, plenty of prominent roles. At least decently prominent. Plenty of kids. And bananas in Banania. I guess Bananias. Nefiria Barear in Overlord. Finally, someone I recognize. Cartaphilus in Mahotsukai no Yome. I didn't know Nefiria and Cartaphilus had the same voice actor. Today I learned, I guess. Parasite in Parasite, the Maxim. And that does it. That's a star cast of characters. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised at the amount of prominent characters they hired for this show. And okay, there we go. So, to sum it up, it was cool. The CG, it's CG. What can I say about it? It's not mind-blowingly good, but it's also not that bad. It's not that bad because it doesn't try to merge with 2D. There are some 2D backgrounds, but not much more besides that. And it works. It works. Would I have preferred it to be 2D? Yes. Am I mad that it's CG? No. Again, it works. Great music, which is something I don't really often pay attention to. But I guess I'm gonna have to start this season because the previous show that I started watching, Handyman Saito, or Psycho, also had some cool music in it. This one, yeah, some great tracks. Cool sound design so far. Amazing world. I love what they did with the world. The planet scale membrane growing out of trees. The layers of snow below the canopy. I'm down for it. I'm absolutely down. I love it. I want more. I need more. I need to hear the lore. The fucking road signs that they treat as objects of worship, and they learn them and they study them like it's the fucking 7 commandments, or 10 commandments, or however many there were. I love it. I love everything about the world and the lore and all that stuff. If there's no other reason I'm gonna watch this show, I'm gonna watch it for the lore. The same reason I watched that French movie, because of the world and the lore. But there's more than that in this show. There's also the story that I'm assuming is gonna be quite good, because looking at the people who write it, right, and looking at how it get an adaptation, so people like the manga for some reason. Characters are cool, but we don't really know all that much about them. We will learn more as the time goes on. Designs, but I guess that also kind of falls under the lore. This episode was ultimately to show off the lore and the world and to hook you in, right? Oh, what a weird world. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going to happen. It got me hooked. It got me hooked. Kaina took his harpoon fishing gun and just got me right in the shoulder. I'm hooked. I'm waiting for more. Episode 2 is already out, so I'm gonna watch it ASAP. And then episode 3, and I'm glad I picked it up. I'm glad I gave it a chance. CG show or not, I'm glad I gave it a chance. And I hope you did too. And I hope, if you didn't, if you know someone who discarded this show completely because it's CG, maybe tell them to watch it. Because it shapes up to be something genuinely cool. Something genuinely nice, and maybe not quite a highlight of the season, or maybe. I mean, it's just the first episode. We don't know what's gonna happen later, do we? Yeah. I think that's all I have to say on the topic. Lore, world, mind blown, amazing. I need more. I want more. I will watch more. But right now, that's gonna be it. So maybe you guys, maybe you have something more to say. If so, down in the comments below is where you can do that. What did you think of this episode, of my reaction, my theories, stuff like that? No spoilers, please. I beg of you. I know there's manga of this show. There's episode 2, episode 3 is coming out soon. Please, no spoilers. If you do wanna talk spoilers with each other, you can do that on my Discord. However, Discord link is here, also down in the description. You can join it. There's going to be a Kaina channel there that you can join, and you can talk spoilers using spoiler tags, and I'm not going to read them. Everybody's happy. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Kaina, but also Symphogear AXZ, also Handyman Saito, also other shows that will be appearing in the future. Gundam Witch from Mercury finale and Madoka Magica Rebellion are certainly planned in the future that I mentioned. Support the channel if you want monetarily. Patreon Throne, links in the description below. On Patreon, for $10 a month, you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear, like Madoka, and others. And for just $1, you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. On Throne, you can pitch in directly towards my purchase of better gear, better software, stuff like that. And if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, costs you absolutely nothing, share my content, spread the word. It's completely free and helps the channel a lot. And I mean that. I mean a lot. A lot of people come here from others' recommendations. So, right now, that's gonna be it from me for today. And as always, you guys do all the good stuff. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers. And here's the list of my existing amazing patrons. You can be one of them, and you don't need to climb a tree to do that.